today to introduce our speaker, Coach Joanne McCallie, the newest head coach in the ACC and just the 4th head coach at Duke University. Currently, her team is ranked number 12 in the nation. They are riding a 12-3 record, and they are currently in the midst of a 7-game winning streak. So great success as the conference season has just started. Over this past summer, Coach McCallie coached the USA Under-21 team, the team which played in Moscow, Russia, and won the gold medal for the U.S. FIBA World Championships. That great success for not only Joanne and her team and the USA resulted in her being named co-recipient of the prestigious 2007 USA Basketball Developmental Coach of the Year. And that was an award just announced last week. So. Joanne made her way to Durham via Michigan State, as many of you have read about. She spent her last 7 seasons there. And while she was there, she led the Spartans to a 149-75 record in 5 straight NCAA tournament appearances, 4 straight 20-win seasons, and an appearance in the NCAA championship final game in 2005. After leading Michigan State to the season's best and the school's best record in history in 2005, she was named the National Coach of the Year by not only the AP, the Associate Press, but also by Basketball Times and Nike. She's a native of Brunswick, Maine, previously was an assistant at Auburn University, and she also spent time at Maine where she was the head coach for 8 years. She was named Coach of the Year in that conference on 3 different occasions. She also played basketball, as you will see. She played at Northwestern University, and she's still ranked 7th. That's pretty impressive. Still holding the record. She's ranked 7th in the Wildcat history with career assists of 378. Graduated with a degree in political science and also earned a master's in business administration from Auburn. As a coach and a player, she's led her teams to 13 conference championships, 16 NCAA appearances, 5 NCAA Sweet 16 appearances, 4 NCAA Elite Eights, 3 NCAA Final Fours, and 3 times as a player and coach in the NCAA Final Championship game. So, as you can see, her credentials are impressive, and we are thrilled to death to have her part of the ACC in here today. Let's give her a warm welcome.
Thank you, Bernadette. That was really nice. It is great to be here. I just want to take a minute to thank you all for a couple things, and I'm not sure if I want to thank you or hit you, really. What I mean by that is, once upon a time, I got caught a lot of flack for talking about a dream job that I had. And really what it was a dream conference. It wasn't a dream job. I should have used the word dream conference because you all have created something so special in the ACC for basketball. And I was joking. I'm not going to hit you, I promise. But I want to thank you for all the work that you do to promote not only women's basketball, men's basketball, the ACC, the whole thing. Because for me, I coached in the SEC, loved it, enjoyed it, it was great. Coached America East once upon a time, it was great, loved it, enjoyed it. Played in the Big Ten, coached in the Big Ten, loved it and enjoyed it. But yet I always was drawn to this conference, and that's really kind of funny because I was recruited by Duke, and at that time I chose to go on Northwestern, but all the people I can sort of report back about that drew into the game were ACC people. Jimmy V being the first one. And I didn't know Jimmy V. All I saw was the dunk, okay? That's all I saw. And I was young at that time, and I was in my living room, and I thought he was just a really funny, good coach, Italian guy. And I had some Italian in me, and that really stuck with me, and it's just really amazing to think how impressions will stick with you over time. I never met him, but I thought, wow, that conference is something else, and so when I get back to it, and like I said, I had a great run at Michigan State, and it wasn't, you didn't want to leave anybody, but when an opportunity arose to be in my dream conference at a dream job, you can try to twist the words or say whatever you want to say about it, but if it dates back to a long time ago, it really is a dream. I kind of have a funny story to tell you about that. I got a lot of flack from some of the writers because people said, oh, it's not really a dream, it's just better money. And that can happen sometimes. People can get cynical and they can think those things. But I don't know, if you know any coaches, we're really driven from an inner something. I mean, that's what makes us half crazy to take this job anyway. I mean, to do any coaching job. I mean, coaching is weird. It's a hard job. I mean, people hate you. People love you. People think they know everything better than you do, but then they want to kiss you. Like, it's such a bizarre job. I mean, if you ever tried to sort of rein in the emotions and the energy of it all, I mean, you get ill thinking about it. I mean, you just do. But it's a passionate job, and we're all driven by passion. And so I just want to tell you how the world works some days. Some writers can get cynical. And anyway, to make a long story short, I was, can't get her dream job. When people found out, well, yeah, she was recruited there. Yeah, she did meet Coach K way back in the day when people wanted his head back in '83. And she did talk, and she did take a visit to Duke, and she was admitted to Duke. Oh, I see. Maybe there's some truth to this. And a friend of mine who I haven't talked to in 10 years, 12 years, we had lunch in Maine, back when I was a coach at Maine. Okay, that's when we're going way back to before 1994. She called me up and said, Joanne, I remember you talking about Duke then. And what's even funnier is she called me after she had already called that reporter. I said, hey, I think you really missed the story here in a big way, because I hate to break it to you. I had a conversation over lunch with her about her dream job when she was at the University of Maine. And so what I want to thank you for is, I don't know if I should thank you because we're in the season right now and it's kind of intense, so I'm not sure what I'm thanking you for, but I'm thanking you for your support and this wonderful opportunity I have to coach me and my family. And those of you that are copping an attitude right now, and I know some of you are because I can tell some Carolina people are here. What I can say about that is I'm a very complicated person, okay? I mean, I don't know. My husband is a North Carolina grad, and he does wear Duke clothing, yes, and supports the Dukies. And I thought it was so funny. I had a chance to meet Dean Smith a while ago. I don't know him very well. I know he and his wife are just beautiful people, and I spent some time talking to him. So we kind of started exchanging Christmas cards. And I sent Coach Smith our Christmas card. My husband has a Duke shirt on. And I said, I know you are very upset by this, but I think you'll get over it. And to show you how funny the world is, when we played for the 2005 National Championship, we lost. We lost to Baylor. Yeah, that was a big bummer. And I remember taking a Nike trip, and I'd never taken one before, but I became elite. So I thought, wow, that's really cool. I get to take a trip. And so I took a Nike trip. Well, I never thought I'd have the conversation I had on this Nike trip, because people try to tell you these things. They tell you, oh, those guys coaches, they're unreachable. They're ridiculous. And I never thought that. I talk to people all the time. They don't have to talk back to me, but I can talk to people. And so I'm on this trip, and it's actually in Whistler, British Columbia. If you've been there, it's just a great place to go. Highly recommend it, Ross. You got to get out there. And I sat down next to Coach Smith, and we were starting talking, and he said, I really liked your team. I'm looking behind me. Whose team is he talking about? And I said, no, I really like your team. And he said, don't tell anybody, but I really followed your team on the women's side. And that was the year Michigan State. We were kind of a fun team. A lot of people had really actually said that. We really followed you that year because you guys were kind of a fun team. And he shared with me the most incredible story. I said, yeah, I was feeling kind of down about it. I said, yeah, can you believe that? Can you believe we lost there? Can't believe you go that far and you lose a national. Who does that kind of thing anyway? And I said, just how could that happen? We're talking about it. And this man, this incredible gentleman looked at me and said, Joanne, let me think back now. He starts like that. He said, my first time in the Final Four, he said, my first time in the Final Four, I believe we lost in the semifinals. And with a little twinkle as I looked at him, he said, I guess that puts you ahead of me, doesn't it? And I thought, if you can't understand, I have a million stories about Coach K and his trying to reach out, talk to me about things at Duke. Even on my interview at Duke, I absolutely had to meet that man. You know, I've read all his books. And so I sort of doubled. If you could understand this, when I was young, I had that Jimmy V like draw, never met the man, but just loved what he did. Loved his passion. I'm Italian too. I read all of Mike's books because I thought, wow, he sure can write. You know, I hope he's writing all this because it's really good, you know, about his stuff. So Mike was always been something. Matter of fact, another story is at Michigan State. And Tom Izzo walks in my office, great man, fantastic coach. We're talking and he's happy and everything, and then he looks down on my desk, and Mike's book is sitting right there. And I went, you know, and he said, oh, okay, I'll talk to you later. You know, I said, oh, come on, I said, don't do that to me, come on. And you know, those are the kinds of things and the kind of stories I've had in basketball, because I just admire the game, and you got to learn from everybody. I've learned from Tara Vandiver some great things. We've had some great conversations with USA Basketball. I had a chance, I met Mike on my interview, had to meet him, had to talk to him and get his input. And although we get very busy in our lives, I guess what I'm trying to tell you is some of these coaches, as you already know, but are remarkable. Some of the things that Mike said to me the week before we played Rutgers, I mean, they're remarkable. People are fascinating. Coaching is coaching. Basketball is basketball. And it is an exciting thing. And I cannot believe the people that have extended to me at various times in my career to help me. You know, we all have to get better. I hate to break it, none of you have arrived. Okay? Until this thing sells out for an ACC women's basketball tournament, or the regional, none of us have arrived. We're all working. We're work in progress. And I just think it just excites me so much to think about what can happen with attendance and growing the tournament. And for me, of course, being successful in the tournament. I mean, you know, that's our goal, is to come right back here and do something very special right in front of you all. And we're working on that right now, just even how we schedule practice times, trying to get prepared for the 3 games in a row, and how can we do this, and how can we be physically and mentally fit to pull it off. I will say I really enjoy young kids and community. I'm blessed to be a mom. I got a daughter who's 13 and a son, Jack, who's 7. They are terrific kids. It's tough to balance everything, as you can imagine, but they're special. And we have a philosophy that I've used at Maine, at Michigan State, and now at Duke, and it's trying to teach kids about making the right choices. And so our mantra is choice, not chance, determines destiny. Choose to become a champion of life. And trying to get these kids to understand that they are not victims of any circumstance. They can make choices every day to impact their lives. To tell you how far it's gotten now, we're just at the very beginning at Duke. We had 450 members at Michigan State. That's kids and parents joining a club to promote the idea of helping their children make choices and good choices. From young kids all the way up to 8th grade. You know, we can't go into the older kids. And we quadrupled attendance at Maine, getting 6,000 people in. At Michigan State, we got crowds of 14,000 watching basketball games. And at Duke now, we're going to try to drive it to see how far we can take it. Everybody tells me you can't, just by the way, just for the record. Oh, don't you know? This is the triangle. There's too much here. There's too much basketball. I mean, men's basketball, women's basketball. You can't do that. So I have all the people that have already told me what we can't do. Okay, got that? Got it? Good? Okay. And so just to know that kids have to be impacted more than ever, because you know what's happening to them? You know this. The internet, my daughter, all these electronics, it's killing our kids. Like, where is the passion for something? To do something special. When I saw Lorenzo Charles do that, I thought, wow, that's really cool. I thought I would play for a national championship. And I figured out that I guess I wasn't going to. So then I thought I'd coach for one. I'm completely a coach by accident that way. But we've got to really do our part on helping these kids. So anything we can do to bring millions of kids in and give them philosophy. But for us, it's CNC. That's what we call it. CNC. And we're really trying to develop this at Duke. And it's just something to think about for all of us in the community. But again, I want to thank you just because I'd love to take your questions first of all. And I just feel blessed to be here. We're just getting to know each other. We are hilarious, and I should be writing a book. That's all I can tell you. I mean, the things that we have already gone through together as a group, these poor Duke kids, they didn't pick me. Poor kids, sorry. But they got me, and it's really interesting. And so I can just simply say that we are honored to be part of such a prestigious conference. Duke is a fabulous place. The people there are so impressive. I've really enjoyed that. And yes, we like all the other teams, want to come here and have a special time. And maybe there's good energy in the room that just might stay or something when we come back. But thank you for all your support and all that you do. You got to have some questions, because we got Dukies and we got those other people and we got Dukies. That kind of thing. You ever got a question or anything? Want to shout out? Ask? Yes, sir.
How would you rate conference as far as top and bottom this year?
Well, I think it's, again, I don't have the long-term experience in the conference, but I tell you what, given the nature of play and the game that we just came off of, you've got traditional, Maryland and North Carolina continue to be traditional as well as Duke, and we've dropped off that a little bit, not quite as, we're not quite, haven't earned our way into that this year. But I can tell you that to me, everyone just looks better to me. And we just played a team that hit 10 threes on us. How do you give up 10 threes playing man-to-man, okay? Maybe I am in the wrong profession. I mean, how does that happen? What I can say is that I just think the conference is as strong as ever. It's the very best. It's the most athletic. It's the most exciting to watch. But I would never, I'm pretty good at focusing, and I love getting ready for games, and I don't like this. We don't get up for any game. I know about rivalries. Believe me, I do. But I have to tell you, you just want them all. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it. And sometimes when you travel to that lower school, and those are the games that you remember. I think North Carolina's got a pretty good memory from a trip that took Clemson. Those are the games that you remember. And those are the games that coaches get ready for. It's so easy to coach those other games because your kids are up. When we played Rutgers, our kids were up. What do I need to do for a pregame talk there? Nothing. Like get out of the way and shut up. I mean, there's nothing to do. But when you're talking about an every game mentality, and so I'm going to tell you right now, the conference, anything goes in this conference. I can see it because of the athleticism. And all I know is I'm going to keep my little blinders on and put that next opponent right in front, and I don't care about anybody else. And I am training our team in the same fashion. There is no looking past, and there's no past tradition that guarantees you anything in the present. And that's sometimes hard for kids to get, but we definitely, I believe, are getting there at Duke. And so on any given night, I'd watch the scores is what I'm trying to say. It's going to be a very interesting ACC season, and the tournament is going to be hilarious. For obvious reasons, the 3 in a row, that just looks really knock down, drag out is what that is. Yes, sir.
I was wondering if you could make a prediction, your thoughts now, and I know it's down the road, the women's Final Four and eventual champion.
Now, why don't I get into predictions? So somebody could copy that down and use that against me? I mean, and I know that as a Duke gentleman asking such an extraordinary question of that.
The only reason I'm asking against the sports writers here, last time we were talking about different things, I'm sorry they had to ask them, who they thought would be the Final Four and all that, so I want to throw out a question.
He's an attorney. He's an attorney.
I think it's going to be great. I can't wait.
Is this your first experience for the conference tournament?
No, sir. No, it's not like the SEC is. They're 4 in a row. Isn't the SEC 4 days in a row? Maybe you got to play in like 3 days. So it's the same as ACC. No, I've been in many conference tournaments. SEC is like the ACC. Big Ten's got a day in between for the championship. And I've always thought the SEC was a great conference. When I was down at the SEC, I did think it was a great conference. And I think that it's been fun to see the ACC sort of run with it. Like, I don't know how else to say that, but something happened there in some period of time. I do have a friend who does some things with LSU. I must admit I was partial to LSU, if you can actually believe that, with an Auburn grad standing up here. But I was happy to see them do what they did. So yes, I have had that experience, and I'm very excited. I can say I've coached in this building before. It was just so many years ago. You wouldn't remember, and I probably don't want to remember, because I was at Maine, and we played Carolina and Wake. And I think it was an ouch. I think, if I recall. But I'm certainly really happy to be back under different circumstances.
Coach, you're such an engaging, personable, motivating, passionate person. Beside the obvious in your recruiting, you're going after the best. What's the criteria that you're looking for to fit in with your philosophy?
Oh, that's a great question about that. It's funny, you can get really misled in recruiting by numbers and rankings. I really don't read anything anyone writes. I mean, I know you're saying, oh no, coaches say that. No, to live a life of freedom, you do not read. You do other things. You stay away from predictions and rankings. So here's my answer is, I look for the brightest and best student athletes. And then the next thing under that, of course, great grades, great athlete, great potential. I want some blue-collar kids. Okay, this is not a white-collar thing. I hate to break it to you. And NCAA tournament is all about survival. Who hits first? Who hits more often? I mean, you cannot dance your way through the NCAA tournament. You cannot shoot your way through it. The only way to get through it is to beat everybody up, rebound, play some defense, and make plays. And that mentality of making plays. I mean, if you're down 3, 1 second left, you've got to make plays. And you've got to coach it all year long. If you're not making plays in practice today and coaching it, you don't have any chance in that tournament. Because there's the luck factor, there's the matchup factor, and you have to somehow reduce all those things. I call it minimizing statistical fluctuations. That would be the Northwestern side of me. But you have to minimize that because there's so many things outside of your control with that tournament. And I don't know what drives you, but I can tell you I would give anything for the NCAA tournament. That's the most passionate thing I can ever think of doing, is playing in a Final Four. If you've been to a Final Four, you want to go back. It's an experience that you can never, ever really even fully talk about. And so once you've been, that's all you really care about. No misunderstanding. You love to win the regular season and the tournament, of course. But everything you try to do does sort of push at that time of year. And so back from recruiting, I need some blue-collar, tough-minded kids that don't quit, that don't get rattled when it gets physical. And you got to combine all these things. The great athlete, the great shooter, the sort of the blue-collar mentality too. And it's a very interesting thing to try to get that balance. And I do love who we signed. I tell you, we signed 3 kids, and they said, oh, so great, they're ranked, they were ranked, whatever they were ranked. I said, I don't care what they're ranked. Those kids are going to be trouble in this conference because they're mean. They're mean. They play mean. And I don't know, that's not dirty. They are mean. And they are also, a couple of them, one in particular is that kid, that Larry Bird, who lives in the gym. Kids don't live in gyms anymore. They're sitting there thinking they can age, 7th grade, oh, I can get a scholarship. And they haven't even worked out on the pavement before. Oh, my coach said I could if I just went to my AAU practice. There's this bizarre sense of entitlement. You really got to stick it to them. It's unbelievable how we've gotten to this point. And our kids, you can see how they could have trouble with me because entitlement isn't going to work it. And don't give me that dookie know-it-all stuff either. Being a Northwestern grad or being admitted to Duke, I know where they are. And it's so amazing to me how you got to work for it. And that work piece is something we're really driving. And our kids are doing a good job. They're working hard. And we'll push them further, and just when they think they've arrived, we'll push them a little bit further. But it's quite a process, the recruitment, and then taking teams all the way through and actually winning a national championship.
When you recruit the players, you pretty much promise them that they will keep the scholarship all 4 years, or is it actually year to year now?
Yeah, everybody signs year to year, but every school is very committed to their student athletes, and you just don't, they are committed. And you assume everyone's going to be there. I haven't had too many transfers. I guess I've had a couple in my career, but if it helps the kid, you're for it. basically everybody stays. And I know at Duke, I mean, the education, my God, it's $1 million, it's an unbelievable thing that those kids have. And kids make it through, and I think it's hard for them to learn a role. Everybody thinks that they need more of a role if they're not playing as much. That's a really hard thing to balance, because your roles are determined in practice. Practice is where you determine really everything. And nobody's in practice. No parents are in practice, no fans, no media. Nobody's in practice. But boy, they sure know a lot. For a lot of people that never go to practice, they got a lot to say. So it's a very fascinating dynamic as coaches as we deal and try to teach these kids responsibility to their scholarship and also to their role on the team, whatever that role sort of shakes out to be.
Take one more question.
Last year you had two great senior players on the big team that of course graduated and providing a lot of senior leadership. Have you had a leader emerge or a couple of leaders emerge that, everybody knows about having a leader.
Sure. That's a great question. On a couple fronts. First of all, Duke's success has been phenomenal, number one. Number two, Gail did an incredible job at Duke. Transitions are very interesting, going back to the book again. Transitions are very fascinating. But I think our kids have finally realized, and you point to it very clearly, we graduated 2 All-Americans. Allie Bales, terrific, 6'8", practically, okay? And Lindsay Harding, whose number will be retired very shortly at Duke. And it takes a big woman, it takes a strong woman to sit there and say, they really helped me. They really made a difference in my game. I'm talking about our current kids. And we have now gotten to that point where our kids, I think, are finally getting it. In other words, let's talk defense for a second. If you have a 6'8" kid in the paint, how many chances do you think you can take on steals? A whole lot. Because you can get beat, and your kid goes right into 6'8". So you can go for a steal on almost every possession. Now take the 6'8" kid out and put a 6'2" kid in there. Now what happens when you go for all those steals? Problems, fouls, people out of position. By the way, talk about going for steals. Did you pay attention to that Carolina game? What that kid did? Cute kid. Oh, I felt so bad for him. The guy's got 29 points. He's the only one who can really hit the shot. And he goes for a steal. He goes through the lane. He misses. And who does he leave open? Mr. Psycho three-point shooter. It's fascinating. When I saw that on TV, I wrote that down. I talked about my team about it. I said, did you see that on TV? We were just talking about going for steals that were unnecessary. Sometimes you just got to D up, keep the kid in front of you and make them shoot over you. And our kids are like, half our kids, I'm soon. All right, whatever. Point being, it's out there. Okay? It's out there. And I'm fascinated by your question because we've had all sorts of adjustments on a leadership level. Lindsay Harding, and this for the record, if anyone cares, had the greatest senior year of any female athlete I have ever seen in my life. Okay? Lindsay was phenomenal. There is no doubt we've had a vacuum because of Lindsay's departure, and we've had to figure ourselves out a little bit. And that's the point that I've tried to talk to our kids about. Control what you can control. Those kids were going to graduate no matter what. So now it's time for other people to thrive and fill in roles. But you're correct, we're developing. No, we're not as dominant, and people are so funny at Duke. They just got to win every one, no matter what. No matter who you're playing, no matter who graduated, no matter I'm like, do you know what these kids are trying to do? And I tell you what, they've done a pretty good job. 6'8" is a big lady. And that point guard was the best there ever was. And so they're all working together on it. Leadership-wise, we're coming. We're coming. There's a lot of leadership on the team, and we're kind of finding a way to get it done. And you had a question, too.
Just as a former college athlete who played a ton of sports growing up, there seems to be a trend for children now to, at age 3, determine the sport that they're going to play for the rest of their life. And I'd love to, as a fellow mom, with your kids,
they better have fun or they're not gonna do nothing. How's that for being articulate? I mean, I tell my kid, my daughter plays volleyball, she plays basketball, she plays soccer. She's pretty good at some of those sports, we'll see, where it goes. It's kind of cute. She plays for Krista Gingrich, a former Duke player, is her coach, which is really kind of funny. So Maddie's out there playing, Jack plays all sports, and to me, the key is how do you get them to get passionate when they get those iTunes things going, and they got that computer going, and I just go crazy in my daughter's room. I'm going to shut it all down, and finally the other day she's reading of Mice and Men, and I was like, yes, thank goodness for education, because you just can't fight, and really seriously, to me it desensitizes kids. They're a little bit desensitized because of overexposure, and so you've got to promote the fun factor, and that's hard to do. And I've got to be careful. I don't coach my daughter. I don't want to coach my daughter unless she wanted to play for me, but I tell you what, probably not, okay? I let them be, but we give them all the outlets to try to be in sports because of the physical and mental health and all that comes from it. But we're in a complicated society, and again, I want to thank you all for your support and what you've done, because the ACC is the very best, and although I'm a rookie, okay, I understand that, and I couldn't be more excited to be here in this conference and trying to see what we can do.